can you share a little bit about the rent protection and the legal end of the retenant shield? I think that's what you called it, right? The retenant
Yeah, the
team
legal and
shield.
legal and retenanting expense shield. So on the rent protection side, you know, as we started our business, we actually have a subsidiary that acts as a program manager with a Fortune 100 insurance carrier, and so we have underwriting authority from a major insurance carrier for insurance surrounding this risk, this specific risk that we've kind of was our core offering. And with it, um, we have set up the structure where now the owner can be protected. And so the owner can be protected if that tenant doesn't pay rent for a variety of reasons. And so, a tenant, as you know, could just skip, could just say, I'm out of here and give the keys back. Or the tenant could be less friendly and maybe more adversarial and not pay rent and have to be evicted. Or could even worse, not pay rent, have to be evicted and trash the unit. And so what all of this does is it negatively impacts the performance of the property owner. They're expecting that cash flow. And we want to provide tools to the property managers we work with and the underlying owners to mitigate that risk. And so if the tenant were to just not pay rent and give their keys back, there could be a loss of rental income until it's retenanted, or there could be a delay in being able to get it retenanted after an eviction. And after surveying the market, we found that 2 months seemed to be the right amount. And so we will cover up to 2 months of lost rent in the event of tenant default. And it could also be military orders. As you know, someone receives military orders by law, they can break the lease. So we, of course, are not going to say we don't cover that. We cover that. The program would cover that. And it's really centered on if the unit can be occupied and the tenant won't pay rent, we'll cover that loss. We try to make it simple.
So for everybody listening in, what you're basically saying through the rent advance or the rent protection program is you will the property manager will put in a claim, and up to 2 months worth of rent can be distributed nearly for any reason of non-payment of rent. Either they abandoned the property, called for military duty, unfortunately maybe they pass away, or maybe they're just not paying rent for whatever reason. um, that owner can get up to 2 months rent reimbursement for non-payment of rent, like as simple as that.
Yep, and this is how it sounds simple, hard to accomplish, right? On the back
Yeah.
end, but that's the exposure, and that's the risk. Is we want to isolate on this pain point. If you think about it, TJ, if I'm a large landlord with 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 units, and a tenant doesn't pay rent, it doesn't really matter. But if I'm a smaller landlord that's relying on that income to pay my mortgage, or I got called away from military duty and I'm going to live in the home again down the line, or I have to move and I can't sell my home, so I'm an accidental landlord, or I've inherited a home, I'm relying on that income to cover my expense. And if there's a
Oh
tenant
yeah.
default and the non-payment, I go from this positive cash flowing asset that's maybe making me some money on top, hopefully, but covering my expenses, to all of a sudden it's a monthly liability. And what we really seek to do is provide the small mom and pop landlord, or even the small mid-sized landlord, even in some instances, with tools to smooth their cash flow, and that's what it does. And the legal and retenanting expense shield is really just an offshoot of that. When we first launched the owner benefit package, property managers said this is great, we love it, but then we started to hear, hey, we really want to give true peace of mind to our customers. And there's this issue: is do they have to come out of pocket for the eviction expense? So I said, okay, let's come up with a solution to help smooth that potential liability and give them real certainty. They want certainty in rental outcomes in today's environment. That's more important than ever, rather, given where we are economically and some of the events with
Oh
big
yeah.
banks
Right.
failing, etc. And so what we want to do is just deliver certainty to these owners and do it in partnership with the property manager, because property management is not just about collecting rent. People view that as, oh, they're charging a fee to collect rent, I can do that. It's so much more. It's the experience of knowing the local laws, knowing how to enforce lease obligations, knowing what to do when things go sideways. It's coordinating the maintenance. It's taking that phone call at 3 a.m. because the furnace doesn't work. It's all of these thankless things that people don't think about, and they think it's easy, but it's not easy at all. And so we understand that, and we want to align ourselves with the people that are doing this work, because that helps us create very cost effective products for the market.
John, you spoke my love language. You should do sales for property management.